Hi there, thanks for joining me again. I'm Julie Poole and I want to talk to you today about how your childhood sexual abuse has changed your sexual behaviour as an adult. I have lots of clients saying to me, I don't understand why I am or was so promiscuous. I don't understand why I'm frigid. I don't want sex. My husband or boyfriend is always nagging me for sex. I don't want it. Other people will ask questions about things like what's termed as fetishes, being into domination, submission, porn, all sorts of different sexual behaviours. And I want first of all to say that none of these should be judged at all. There's nothing wrong with any type of sexual behaviour between two consenting adults. What I want to talk to you today more about is, are you happy with that behaviour and is there more? Because the thing is with childhood sexual abuse, CSA, who are you really under the abuse? Who would you be sexually if the abuse hadn't happened? Because what we want to do is be able to get to a point where the abuse doesn't affect you in any way and the real you is who you are. Now, I've heard male clients ask me, am I gay because they had a sexual response when they were abused by a male perpetrator? No, you're not gay. I've had female clients ask me if I'm a slut because I've been very promiscuous. No, you aren't. There are many questions that people ask, and I just want to explain a little bit about what happens. The thing is with normal sexual behaviour, if you'd not been abused in any way, you would gradually morph into who you are sexually. So we learn about what's acceptable sexual behaviour generically by listening to other people at school or listening to our parents explain to us what's acceptable and what's not. The problem is when those boundaries have been smashed to pieces as a child, they're not in place in the first place. Those sexual boundaries have not had a chance to form and develop. They're simply not there. And if we also understand that the fact that your body has been used and may have been used repeatedly as a tool for somebody else's gratification, and your body becomes a thing, it has no value. It's not seen as precious and special, something that you are giving willingly to share with your partner. It's just a thing to be used and taken. And because of that, we find it very difficult to put sexual boundaries in place. In addition to this, we've been trained to accept sexual behaviour and to accept whatever is given without question. So if we add together that you have no sexual boundaries, and we add to that your body is just a thing, and we add to that very low or no self-confidence and no belief in yourself, and what we've got is a hugely destructive mix of feeling invisible and the drive for love and affection, and you've got a very destructive mix. Now, the majority of CSA survivors seek love through sex rather than sex through love. They're very often addicted to the desire for affection and attention and will repeatedly seek out partner after partner in their drive to fill that empty hole inside of them. And this leads to multiple sexual partners, and the figures are very, very high for promiscuity within survivors of sexual abuse. So I want you to stop feeling ashamed of yourself or judging yourself if you've been promiscuous. This is very normal, okay? But it doesn't mean to say that it has to be like that forever or that it's serving you. So what we want to try and do is find a way to connect with your real sexuality, sensuality, what really pleasures you and what doesn't, and being able to say no. Being able to say no, not tonight, no, I'm not in the mood, no, I don't want to do that thing anymore, I don't really enjoy it. So you start to ask yourself questions about what feels right for you. And one of the easiest ways to do this is think about other people. We are incredibly good with boundaries with other people. So if our best friend was saying to us, my husband puts huge pressure on me for sex, or I'm having to do this thing I don't want to do, we would be outraged for them. We'd be saying, well, you should say no, you don't have to do that. We're very clear about it with other people, about what's acceptable and what's not. So I want you to start asking yourself, if I was my own best friend, would I accept this? If this was my best friend saying this, would I accept this, or would I be saying, no, you shouldn't have to do that? Now, this is one of the quickest ways to be able to break those old patterns and break those old behaviours that you don't want. So asking yourself, would I think this is okay for my best friend to do this? You also need to be looking at raising that self-esteem, self-love, self-confidence, and putting his boundaries in place. Now, I work a lot with this with my clients, of getting the boundaries in place. It's really looking at, where are you in the queue? Are you at the back of the queue when everybody else's needs come first? Or are you at the front of the queue saying, how do I feel about this? I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel right for me. I'm not doing it then. And having the courage and the confidence to be able to say no. Now, initially your partners are not going to like it very much, because they're not used to it. They're not used to hearing no, and they might sulk or strop or have a bit of a go. But please understand, this is not their fault. You're the one that had not put any sexual boundaries in place. You're the one who's been the yes, 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 fine, go with it, go with the flow, don't upset anybody for all your life. So you suddenly are changing the rules, and your partners are not necessarily going to understand that. Give them a little bit of time. Start realizing that by ignoring your inner voice that says, I don't want to do this, you're doing the same to you as was done to little you. You're being invisible, you're not listening, you're not being noticed. So your first priority is to you. Start noticing you, start listening to you, start listening to that inner voice. Let's talk a little bit about closing down sexually, what people would call frigid. You're not frigid. You've closed down to sex because you have a program in you that says sex is unsafe, and sex is dirty, sex is disgusting, sex is horrible, I don't like sex. And that was absolutely the right program when you were a child. It's not necessarily the right program for you as an adult when you're in a loving partnership. Those behaviours can be changed too. There's nothing wrong with you. There is an inner voice saying it's not safe, it's not safe. It's running an old pattern, it's running an old program, and that needs to be changed so that you can enjoy the joy of sex that you would have been able to enjoy if the abuse hadn't happened. We're trying to undo some of the damage of the past to give you the freedom to move into life the way you choose. Now, I've written a whole fact sheet about this, well, information sheet. It's not necessarily facts, if you like. It's the way I work with my clients. I've worked with hundreds of clients with these issues over the years. And this is this information I'm giving you here is taken from my book, Moving Past the Past. And this is a guide for survivors, adult survivors of childhood sexual abuse. And this is taken from one of the chapters. Some of the information I've condensed into an information sheet to help you. You'll find it on my website on the shop page. It's free for you to download. You'll need to put your email address in because the file is emailed into your inbox. Okay, that's how you receive it. Then you can keep it, read it, print it off, share it, do what you want with it. My aim here is to try and help as many people as I can through YouTube to start making improvements in their life, in their well-being, in their happiness. Now, I can only work with a certain amount of clients, and so obviously this is a way of reaching more people. That's why I wrote the book, to reach more people. And the book's got loads of exercises in there of how to change these patterns, change this behaviour, raise the self-esteem, raise the self-awareness, raise the self-love, change behaviours. That's what it's there for. It's not just for people who've experienced sexual abuse, it's for any kind of abuse, but it's predominantly aimed at childhood sexual abuse and the impacts and effects on adults and how it changes their behaviour. So we've looked at these different types of sexual behaviour, and we can see that these have developed from the abuse. So how do we change them? How do we build these new values and these new boundaries? One of the things is that we don't really have this key for acceptable behaviour and unacceptable behaviour, and we need to start to put those boundaries in place. Understand that your body is not a thing, it's something incredibly special and wonderful to be given when you want to give it in the way that you want to do it. And it begins with self-love and self-esteem. It sounds simple, but it's not. For a start, we don't generally love ourselves, and that needs to be fixed. We don't respect ourselves because we haven't been respected and we haven't been really shown how to. And again, that's part of that self-love. And we don't respect our body. Our body has become this thing. So on my website you'll find some audio downloads for those of you who don't want to work with me or can't afford to work with me. And don't worry about where you are in the world, because I work with nearly all of my clients on Skype or FaceTime, so geography doesn't matter. But for those of you that don't want to access or can't access that, the easiest way to do it is to look at some of the audio downloads that I've got. There's one on there about learning to love yourself, learning to love your body, healing from sexual abuse, all sorts of different ones on there. Relax, build confidence, various other audios. And there, as I say, these free fact sheets on several different areas of sexual behaviour and sexual impact and damage and healing. So all the links are in the website below. If you go into the description box underneath, you'll see the links to my website and to the shop page where you can get these downloads free, and you can buy the audio downloads if you want to. I hope this has been useful for you. Take care. Bye bye.